Hello everyone, my name is Sam.
And I'm Austin, and welcome to yet another episode of Geeking Out About It.
Today we're continuing the celebration and we're talking about Star Wars video games.
There have been a lot of Star Wars video games over the years, and tonight we're going to endeavor to cover the most important of them in no particular order. However, if we leave one out that's really important to you, just comment it down below and talk about why it's really important to you. We can't cover them all. We'd love to hear about them, but we can't cover them all.
Yeah. Alright, which one do you think we should start off with?
I think we should probably start off with the most recent Star Wars video game, and what made me have faith restored in Star Wars video games, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
The Dark Souls of Star Wars video games, and not because of the difficulty, which you can turn up to Dark Souls levels of difficulty, but because the gameplay was very much Dark Souls. It was combat rolls, melee attacks, and a couple of special powers, which are really awesome.
Yeah, Fallen Order was a really interesting game because it was like the first time that we've seen EA give us something that was of quality. I mean,
And story-driven.
Yeah, it was a story-driven game.
And canon.
Yeah, and it was really good. It was really high quality, and it actually had a really good like gameplay to it. All of it, yeah, like you said, Dark Souls. It was challenging but fun.
Yeah, admittedly, I was never the biggest fan of Dark Souls, so I was not looking forward to learning how to combat roll away from something 14 times to stab it in the butt. But I really enjoyed it. I got used to it after the first world, and I really ended up enjoying the gameplay, so much so that I went back and played it a second time, and then a third time on the difficulty that makes you want to bleed yourself.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing this game. It was challenging and it was a lot of fun. I think some of my favorite stuff came from when you were struggling fighting the Ogdo Bogodo or whatever its name is. That first time, the frog.
Yeah,
and you
the
were just like, how do you beat this thing? And then I was just like,
oh, I didn't even notice that I
you.
fought that thing because I killed it in one try, and I wanted to slap him very, very hard.
Yeah, he's like, man, I'm struggling fighting this thing. Have you run into that? And I was like, I went over to that area. I'm like, oh yeah, I accidentally ran into this thing and killed it before I got any upgrades or any abilities or anything like that.
Yeah,
he's just like, what?
Yeah, I hate him. I do. Look at his hair. I hate him. Anyway, but the most important part about Fallen Order isn't even the gameplay, which is good. It's the story and what it does for Star Wars canon. Because the story is very good. It follows Cal Kestis, a survivor of Order 66, as he rediscovers how to become a Jedi and becomes one of the few Jedi roaming the galaxy. And it follows him deciding not to try and reestablish the Jedi Order the way that it was originally built because he noticed how wrong it was, and it was really good development.
And did we mention Inquisitors?
And Inquisitors. It has Inquisitors in it, like we said in Rebels. It has Inquisitors.
Yeah, I love Inquisitors.
And the other thing it does is it canonizes. This is the first time we see the appearance of Force healing and Force freezing coming into full play.
Yeah, so if you were...
That ability to freeze stuff in midair that we see in the sequels, Kylo Ren can do that. That shows up for the first time chronologically in Fallen Order. It means that, yes, that people could do that before, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was really interesting, like, kind of seeing some of the fun stuff, because then we got to saw the push over into different stories that all kind of mesh together with Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Like, Order 66, we get to see some of that in the game. Oh, man.
Yes, it has. Oh, the Order 66 sequence is freaking amazing.
It's so good.
No, the other one I really want you to talk about, the Force ability that it shows. Cal has the ability to touch things and learn stuff about them. He's got the
cool.
Force essence or whatever it was. That ability is seen again in the sequels. We talked about it with Rey when she's able to learn stuff from touching objects. That's the first time we see it, not just chronologically, but in the real world as well. We see it in Fallen Order as a game mechanic, and it comes back into the Star Wars world. It's all tied together, and that's what makes Fallen Order so good.
We gotta keep moving on.
We gotta move on.
There's a lot of games.
Too many. We gotta keep going. The next one we should probably talk about is the one that everybody remembers, which is the Battlefront series. Both series of Battlefront. Battlefronts 1 and 2 from back in the old days before the Disney acquisition, and then Battlefronts 1 and 2 made by EA. We mentioned that EA was the first time that they gave us a Star Wars game that was good, because Battlefronts 1 and 2 have a lot of problems. Admittedly, though,
not anymore.
Battlefront 2 got fixed over time.
It did. It's actually a good game now, and it's just finished its development.
Yeah.
At this point, the last update, the Scarif update, has come out, and the game is now completed, and it has stopped being messed around with. They're just going to continue to support the online nature for it. The game is completely done, and it's actually a pretty high-quality game now.
Yeah, it does make me sad that we never got Ahsoka Tano as playable hero, because I would have really enjoyed that. But it's still really good, and actually, it got a whole heck of a lot better from launch. at launch, I will say Battlefront 2 was probably one of the most disappointing things that we got out of Star Wars EA, because the beta was really fun, and Battlefront 1 had ended up being pretty good.
Oh, I have some really good memories of that game.
The servers didn't work, everything had lag, none of the mechanics were very good, the abilities were really broken, the star card system made it so that basically everything was unplayable unless you just got lucky.
I will say one thing, no matter what, which era that I'm playing Battlefront, I've always loved Battlefront, and part of that is due to the fact that I'm really good at Battlefront. Like, I'm top of the leaderboard no matter what.
He is, too. I told you I hate him, right? I told you I hate him. But actually, we gotta talk about the old ones.
Yeah.
Battlefronts 1 and 2, the ones that came out way back when the prequels were still coming out. You get to Battlefront 1.7, sort of the second episode versions. The clones all have the fins on their heads, and it was really good. That one had Bespin, one of the best maps ever.
I love Bespin. It's my
and then the second one that came out a couple years later, they were excellent, and they were the best Star Wars games that we had for years, and they still really are pretty good, because if you play Battlefront 2 on the PC with the best video games, then you can get mods on it, and you can play the Old Republic, you can play the Dark Times, you can play as Republic Commandos the entire time. That's mostly what I do, is I play as Republic Commandos, and it's still awesome. Admittedly, mods have made most of that be still awesome, because the old Battlefront 2 was made in like 2008.
Have you heard that original Battlefront 2 got picked up support on Steam again?
They did, yeah. You can play online multiplayer again.
So
unfortunately, that does mean most of your mods are broken, and you'll need to get reinstalled versions. But it's worth it for the multiplayer.
Yeah. Okay, we should probably still move on.
Keep moving on. And I did mention the Old Republic, so we should probably talk about that next. Star Wars: The Old Republic, or the slightly better one, Knights of the Old Republic, which is basically half of the Star Wars video game playing community's favorite game. Because Knights of the Old Republic, the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, was an excellent story-driven game. Admittedly, the gameplay was sort of lacking unless you were really big into JRPGs and other RPGs. The top-down ones where you're controlling characters from above.
The biggest thing it did, though, was it introduced us to an entirely new world of Star Wars. It's a different era. It's far before any of the stuff that we've seen before in the prequels, the original trilogy.
It's set 1,000 years before the time of the Old Republic. the proper Republic.
The Republic.
It's set way before. It's a whole different time. There's Jedi and Sith fighting out in the open. There's whole groups of them. There's not 2 Sith or any of that. It's well before the rule of 2. And it's a whole different universe you get to explore. And KOTOR 1, Knights of the Republic 1, and KOTOR 2, what is that one called? You know, somebody's going to sue me in the comic section for not being able to remember, but I can't remember it at the very moment. It's like the Masters or something. But yeah, those 2 games, KOTOR's 1 and 2, are just excellent games, and they ended up having a sequel, sort of, in Star Wars: The Old Republic, made a long time later as an MMORPG, so you can play with all your friends, and that one wasn't that good. I will admit, Star Wars: The Old Republic had a lot of problems, mostly in the gameplay, because they made it into an MMORPG, and they didn't do a very good job translating it. And a lot of the stories were sort of phoned in because they made it super big without making it very full of depth. Unfortunately, it was the best thing we had for a long time. I was kind of sad about that.
Really quickly, I would like to move it on to the next video game, and I want to talk about The Force Unleashed.
Oh, yeah, that makes me happy.
Yeah, The Force Unleashed was a very interesting series because it introduced us to Starkiller, which was supposed to be the original name for Luke Skywalker, by the way. Luke Starkiller. So Starkiller is this really interesting character. By the way, same guy who voices Darth Maul. He's Starkiller, so, you know, it's a win-win-win-win. And he is this kind of trained-up Force user by Darth Vader to be basically an assassin in the same way that the Inquisitors are.
Yeah, he was making an Inquisitor. This was before the Inquisitors were a thing. They used to have Shadow Knights that were doing the jobs of Inquisitors. And this was an apprentice of Darth Vader who was kept in secret from the Emperor. He was training him up so he could use him to overthrow the Emperor and take over the Empire. And it was a really fun character to play because he ended up going away from Darth Vader and he ended up turning either back to the light side or then back to the dark side again at the end.
The coolest thing in this game was the fact that you just got to show off some really awesome raw power and kick butt.
Yeah,
this
you could run around just
kick butt.
Just lightning and everything.
Oh man, it was so fun. And in the second game, they even improved it even more to get to the point where you could cut off people's arms and legs and stuff like that.
It was pretty good.
The lightsabers worked like the lightsabers, and that's one of the reasons that I really like that game.
Yeah,
but we gotta move on.
We do have to move on.
And I think that we need to talk about the greatest Star Wars game of all time, Lego Star Wars.
Oh, the best Lego game of all time for sure.
Yeah,
Lego Star Wars was awesome. This was back in the day when Lego games were still trying to emote an entire story to you. They would tell you the whole story of Star Wars with nothing but comical expressions, waving their arms and grunting, and it came across really well.
It was so fun.
And the whole thing worked really well, and it's so much fun to play. It's just stupidly fun.
It was really good. Growing up, that was probably my favorite game. We played it all the time. you know, it's just something that really it can introduce kids into Star Wars alongside like seeing the movies and stuff like that. It allows you to jump in a very like kind of safe way because everything, it's Legos. It's not like it's actually like super violent or anything. Sure, your body explodes when you die as a Lego.
Yeah, but into Lego parts.
Then you come back like 2 seconds later.
Yeah, they put people back together. In the show, in the game, they put people back together.
Yeah,
they're like, oh no, this person's been cut in half. Put more legs on him.
Yeah, there's no way to actually lose Lego Star Wars, so it's actually just a really fun and great way to hop into the games. But like we said earlier, there is a lot of Star Wars games. We can't address them all.
That's true. We can't address them all. We can't talk in depth like we have been doing. But very briefly, I do want to say some things. Some of the older Star Wars games that we can't talk about because we can't play them anymore. The emulated versions don't even really work. Things like Dark Forces or Shadows of the Empire. Or
Rogue Squadron.
We can't play that anymore. Or the best flight simulators ever, X-Wing. Jeez, we can't play any of them.
TIE Fighter? Come on.
They don't work. Well, okay, but they don't work anymore for most PCs. You can get them to work with a lot of extra programs, but we can't run them.
Star Wars
Monopoly.
Chess. Yeah, Star Wars Monopoly. We had Star Wars Monopoly.
But we do want to say we still appreciate those games, and they were really good when they came out too.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned board games. All of this has just been talking about the video games.
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's so much content
the adventure game.
Hoth, the adventure game. Oh my gosh, that game was so funny.
But we can't talk about it because there's just so much to do, and we do have to try and keep these episodes short.
Well, if you like any of these games, or like what we said about any of these games, I highly recommend you go check them out because there is so much fun Star Wars content out there.
If you haven't played Fallen Order and you have a system that can play Fallen Order,
go play
Fallen Order.
Yeah, it's really good. But
we talked about it for 5 minutes for a reason.
Yeah, we did talk about these games for a very good reason. It's probably because they're our favorite of the Star Wars games. We just mentioned what we like the most, and if you have a game, like we said earlier, that we didn't mention and you want to talk about in the comments, go ahead.
Yeah, if any Star Wars game stands out to you and makes you as excited as we were about talking about Fallen Order and stuff, tell us about it. I really want to hear about it. This is a Star Wars celebration week. We're supposed to all be celebrating as a community. So tell us about it.
That is all the time we have for today's episode. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Goodbye.